Oh, yes. Now.
Aha.
Good. So. Okay, I think we are going now.
We are live now.
Well done. Well done.
Okay, I will start. Hello, I warmly welcome everyone, and I apologize for the delay, but we had some technical problems, and yeah, I'm grateful for your patience. And yeah, I warmly welcome you to our 20th webinar by the Academy of Space Renaissance International. An echo. I apologize for the delay, but we had here's an echo. Adriano. My name is Sabina Heinz, and I'm the person responsible for our webinar series on the 6th of June. I'm delighted that you have come to join us. Our today's special guest is Aldo Spadoni from the International Association of Astronomical Artists, IAAA. Welcome, Aldo.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabina.
Nice to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, thank you. For us, it's a pleasure. And I also would like to welcome Bernard Foing. He's our president. Welcome, Bernard.
Hello, welcome. So it's a pleasure to have our gathering and interaction with the Space Renaissance community. So today, under the sign of arts, and in the last month, so we have had quite a number of events worldwide. I was in Latin America, where we talked about also Latin American culture to space and exploration. We had some events also at the International Space University in Strasbourg. In the next days, we are also going to preach about space exploration society in Paris, in London. But today, it's really a pleasure to have Aldo Spadoni, also from the International Association of Astronomical Artists.
I thank you, Bernard. I also would like to welcome Adriano Ottino. He is one of our vice presidents and former president and founder of the Space Renaissance International. Welcome, Adriano. Okay, he is still with the technique.
He's muted. He's muted.
Adriano, you are muted. You have to unmute. You have to unmute, Adriano.
Yes, we need an astronaut checklist.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Sabine. I'm sorry that I'm continually struggling with technical problems this evening, but I think now everything is fine. We should go ahead. So thank you and very welcome, Aldo, to be here with us. And I'm eager to see your presentation.
Thank you, Adriano.
Before doing so, I would like to mention that I put some news from SRI in the chat, and I would like to welcome people from London, from Great Britain, from Kuwait, from Iceland, San Jose, then from the United States, from the United States, and from Great Britain. And we have something new. We want to open our webinar with a short news information. It will be very short, some space news from planet Earth. The SpaceX Starship 24 prototype is going through the preliminary test campaign in view of the first launch to orbit that should take place within the month of June. FAA recently gave the 13th of June as a date to release its clearance to the launch of the first fully reusable space vehicle from the Boca Chica starbase. Cross fingers. And on the 4th of June, Blue Origin successfully completed its 5th human space flight and the 21st flight for the new Shepard program. Blue Origin is walking briskly on the road of space tourism. We are eager to see the next steps also by the other dealers like Virgin Galactic and SpaceX. And on the May 31st, Sierra Space announced a strategic partnership, with aerospace manufacturer Spirit Aerosystems for production of cargo modules for its Dream Chaser vehicles. The company said they signed a letter of intent under which Spirit will assist in the development and production of Shooting Star. The cargo module attached to the after end of the Dream Chaser lifting body vehicle. And about 1 week ago, Stratolaunch revealed its first hypersonic design for high-altitude flights. The Talon 8 test vehicle will eventually drop from the biggest airplane ever built, known as the Rock, that already has made 5 flights. And last but not least, NASA selects Axiom Space and Collins Aerospace to build next-generation spacesuits for Artemis moon program and other ISS mission. The next-generation spacesuits will be also worn by crew members on the ISS. So these are the news. And now
we should not forget also from the east side, big news. We have got the launch of Shenzhou 14 with 3 crew, and they are going to go to Tiangong, the Chinese space station that will become international. But this time they will be staying there for 6 months, and they will be replaced by another crew. So it's really a new space station that will be inhabited permanently. So clearly, as we are worldwide, we can see a space renaissance everywhere.
Yep.
Great. Great, thank you. Now to Aldo, he will speak today about exploring the role of art in advancing space exploration. For me as an artist, it's a very interesting topic. And he briefly will describe the International Association of Astronomical Artists. Aldo Spadoni is an aerospace engineer and futurist with over 40 years of experience. He is a veteran of numerous advanced development programs for NASA, the United States Air Force and Navy. He is a recipient of NASA's Turning Goals into Reality Award for reusable launch vehicle development. Aldo created an award-winning simulation team at Northrop Grumman Aerospace Systems. He is president and chairman of the board of trustees of the International Association of Astronautical Artists, and he is an accomplished self-taught artist and concept designer with 4 US patents to his credit. Aldo's consulting company, Aerospace Imagineering, specializes in the conceptual design, visualization, prototyping of advanced technology, concepts, and products. As a Hollywood technical consultant and concept designer, he supported the production of Apollo 13, Supernova, Steel's Iron Man 1 and 2, and other movie projects. He is currently the spacecraft technical advisor on the upcoming interstellar adventure film Persephone. Is the pronunciation correct? I don't know. Aldo, the stage is yours.
Persephone.
Ah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Sabina. Can I proceed then?
Yes, you may share your screen, and we are really curious to listen your lecture and learn what you have to tell us.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see it perfectly.
All right, excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much for that warm welcome and introduction. Let's proceed. So today I'm going to speak to you all and welcome to everyone who's watching this on streaming, YouTube. Bienvenuti. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I managed to combine engineering and art in my career and how I use that in both the aerospace industry and entertainment industry. We'll talk a little bit about the IAAA, the International Association of Astronomical Artists, and I'd like to focus a little bit on how we use art to envision the unseen. So, common question I get is how I got involved in all this and engineering and art, and looking way back when I was 4 years old, American astronaut John Glenn orbited the Earth, and I was hooked. So I've been a space cadet ever since, totally focused in my interests and career in the world of aerospace. As a child, I taught myself how to draw. You can see these images up here. I drew when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I loved spacecraft and there's the shape of the spacecraft. Excuse me. So I designed them the interior as well as the exterior. I just loved to try and figure out how spaceships worked, and that was the basis of kind of my interest in engineering as well. When I was in high school, I kind of taught myself how to, I kept doing additional drawings with colored pencils of aircraft as well as spacecraft, but I taught myself how to paint with watercolors, gouache as it's called, which are opaque watercolors, and airbrush. Here's some more recent examples of my work. I consider myself I'm probably more of an illustrator than an artist. I do a few pieces like this one here, which I call The World's Beacon, and this galaxy planet picture, which I did in oils. But my colleague artists are much more fine artists than I am. This is fine art for an engineer, I guess. Most of my work these days is digital. I use Photoshop and a variety of 3D tools to accomplish my illustrations. Normally, I focus on futuristic concepts of my own design, but since we're in the 50th anniversary period of Apollo, I've been doing a fair amount of Apollo work. Now, during the course of my career as an engineer, I did a lot of artwork, and a number of pieces showed up on, I was lucky enough to be featured on various magazine covers, especially Aviation Week, which is a pretty prestigious publication to be featured in. And more recently, my art has appeared in a variety of books, these published by Smithsonian, working with the great space artist and historian Ron Miller. Now, here's an example of one of my most recent works. I love in my art and illustration to try to capture the energy of space flight, of rocket flight. So this one I call Get Ready for a Little Jolt, Fellas, Bam, which is a scene from the Apollo 13 movie, just showing the staging of the amazing Saturn V launch vehicle. And I love the challenge of envisioning a rocket engine plume, exhaust plume phenomenology. There's so much physics and kinematics going involved, and just how an aerospace vehicle pushes its way through the atmosphere. So I tried to capture a number of the staging events that probably occur over a period of a few seconds in this one illustration. Now, way back when I was in high school, I had the same challenge most young people do. What am I going to do with my life? So I had interest in art as well as engineering. Wasn't clear what direction I should pursue, but I was lucky enough at the time to be accepted at MIT. So I pursued that course and got a degree in mechanical engineering and went right into the aerospace industry. So this slide captures my entire career. I worked for 3 great companies, and I worked on a variety of aircraft as well as spacecraft programs. My very first project was the Jupiter Galileo atmospheric entry probe. I was doing mass properties analysis at the time. And interestingly enough, about 2 decades later, I worked with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and the Mattel toy company. And they were coming up with a series of toys called the Hot Wheels Action Packs. So they featured some various space programs. So I created the illustration for the Galileo Action Pack. So I sort of came full circle on that project. And I tried to keep my engineering background varied. So in addition to structural design and mass properties, I worked on navigation systems, attitude control for both air and spacecraft, But most of my career, I worked in what's referred to as advanced design, configuration design, and integration. In other words, what do future proposed aircraft and spacecraft look like, and how do we integrate all the systems into those designs? Now, about halfway through my career, I was trying to figure out a way to combine my interest in art with my engineering. Luckily, I had some excellent mentors in the executive leadership at Northrop Grumman, and with their help, I created a group I call the EVR, the Engineering Visualization Resource. I was privileged to lead this team of young engineers who were also artistically inclined, and this was back in the 1990s, so computer graphic tools were really emerging big time, and we used those tools, including some Hollywood-style tools, to basically envision the future of aerospace. A lot of fun. Now, parallel to that, I've always been a big fan of movies, especially science fiction movies or any movies that featured aircraft and spacecraft. And I thought, hey, I'd like to try my hand at maybe designing stuff for Hollywood. So I created a company called Aerospace Imagineering. And it's a small company. And by that, I mean, I'm the CEO, the chief engineer, the bartender, and the janitor. So obviously a very small company. But I use this company as a vehicle to pursue work in Hollywood, but also to pursue consulting work in the aerospace industry. So my goal was to come up with a portfolio of vehicles, which I thought would be cool looking, but also I worked them out as if they actually worked, was just something Hollywood doesn't frequently do. So with using everything I learned in the aerospace business and advanced design, even for fantasy concepts, like for the Alien movie, I created this vehicle here. I worked out all the details on to make it, seem realistic, because I think something, form and function go together in artwork. Something that's well conceived, as far as I'm concerned, also has a certain aesthetic associated with it. So with that portfolio, I went out to Hollywood, and I managed to get work on over a dozen films. And this is while I was working full-time as an engineer. So this is strictly moonlighting work in the background. So I worked as a technical consultant, which sometimes is more of an advisory role, but occasionally got a chance to design things like the aircraft for the movie Stealth that came out in 2005. I worked on some good films and some bad films. You don't always have a choice, and you don't always know ahead of time what the movie's going to turn out. But I worked on Apollo 13 and the Iron Man films and some other notable films. Now, my current project, as Sabina mentioned, is Persephone. This is an independent film. I'm the spacecraft technical advisor on the film. I kind of like the sound of that. And this is a story of human survival and spacefaring. And I'm working with this wonderful gentleman here, Jeffrey Morris. He's the Future Dude. I encourage you to check out Future Dude Entertainment. It's futuredude.com. And he has a variety of very interesting and compelling projects. And he's a very talented guy. He's a writer, director, producer, but also a very talented and production designer. So he's really designed most of the this stuff in the film. So I'm kind of backing him up as an engineering jack of all trades. And as you can see, he's got quite a auspicious group of other technical advisors supporting him as well. Now, working on a film like this is a lot of fun. One thing I do is come up with the script is our guides. It's kind of like the equivalent of the requirements document you might get from a government if you're an aerospace engineer. So I look over the script and come up with like these rough storyboards to help add realism to the various sequences. And Jeffrey has many skilled and talented artists working on the film. So my job is to come up with these rough storyboards that those other artists can then use to create the more refined storyboards. Now, another big thing I did on this film is worked in the orbital mechanics area. Now, not that I know a whole heck of a lot about orbital mechanics, but generally I know a little bit more about it than the filmmakers. And timing is everything. As I'm sure many of you who have watched various science fiction movies know, they don't always depict space flight very accurately in terms of timing. So here's an example. I reverse engineered the script for various important sequences, for instance, a Starship capture maneuver as it approaches the Proxima Centauri system. And I came up with these approximate sequences so I could correlate the timing of the script scenes to at least an approximation of what it would actually take to accomplish these maneuvers, because a lot of the filmmakers are very sharp young people, but it's not always obvious what spacecraft maneuvers would take seconds or minutes or hours or weeks. So by creating graphics like this, especially when they get around to actually filming the scenes, they have a much better feel for that, so they could more accurately correlate the maneuvers with the timing in the scenes. Here's another example of an emergency spacecraft re-entry, and just eyeballing it, I figured such a sequence would take about 15 minutes. So again, I tied the duration of the events to the scene numbers to help the filmmakers out. So in the aerospace industry, I created literally thousands of illustrations like this. So that really helped me to leverage the skill to help the filmmakers in their efforts. Okay, let's shift gears for a moment here. Bear with me while I hydrate. So let's talk a little bit about the International Association of Astronomical Artists. So I'm currently the president of this organization and the chairman of the board of trustees, or the real title is the cat herder in chief, since artists are very much a bunch of cats. I believe we're the only organization in the world that's dedicated to groups of artists creating images related to space. So our outreach mission is very much like SRI. We promote, we educate, we implement. Hopefully we inspire people along the way. We foster international cooperation, and we're big supporters of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. And we want to put the art into that as well. So we call it STEAM rather than STEM. Now our group happens to be celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. We were founded in 1982. We've got roughly 200 members around the world in over 20 countries. We put out a great biannual magazine or semi-annual called Pulsar. We have a website and social media presence, which we're trying to expand on. We host art exhibitions around the world. We don't have great resources to do that independently. Usually we'll team with another organization, and we collaborate with groups like the IAAA, the National Space Society, the Planetary Society, and SRI, which is where we're starting to collaborate with as well. And that's the best way to combine our resources to host exhibitions. Now, I'm honored to lead this group, which includes many of the world's great space artists of all genders. We've got some fantastic artist members, and this is just a sampling. Some of the greats who are no longer with us, like Robert McCall, the great Alan Bean, Apollo 12 astronaut, who was a fantastic oil painting artist. We've got former astronauts who are current members, Ron Garan and Nicole Stott, who are both wonderful inspirational speakers, as well as many other endeavors that they pursue. We've got planetary scientists who are artists, like Dr. William Hartman, Dr. Dan Durda, and many other artists who are not represented here. Now, one of the most fun things we do is we host workshops for our members, and we like to travel to places around the world that feature otherworldly geologic features that are analogs to those same kind of features we see on other worlds. As you can see here, I had fun with Photoshop. Here we were about 10 years ago at the Barringer Meteor Crater in Arizona. As you can see, my fellow artists are too busy doing plein air painting to notice the big alien artifact hanging above their heads. We currently have workshops planned back to Death Valley next year. And in 2024, we will visit Texas to see the total solar eclipse. And we're anxious to do that because of the pandemic. We've had to put our workshop program on hold for a few years. So we're anxious to get back out there. Now, we've got a couple of current publications you might be interested in. We've put out the second edition of The Beauty of Space Art. We first published this book about 12 years ago, and it features our work of our artists. There's, I believe, over 270 works of art in this book, published by Springer. It's totally written by our artist members as well. I wrote the chapter on space hardware art, and we were luckily enough to get a foreword written by Alan Bean before he left us. Just a wonderful, inspiring foreword to this amazing book. More recently, we just finished a project with David Eicher, excuse me, who is the editor-in-chief of Astronomy magazine, and we put together an issue with literally just hit the newsstands a few days ago, so keep your eye out for it. This features the 50 works of our artists that explore the space exploration and the cosmos. 4 of our members, including myself, wrote the 4 articles to go with it. So I highly recommend that you go out to your newsstand, or if you're a subscriber, you should be getting it soon if you haven't already. Okay, shifting gears once again. I'd like to talk about what I'll call envisioning the unseen. And by that, I mean, how do we use art to communicate complex ideas and challenges in the aerospace industry? So, you know, I myself, working either independently or with the team I managed at Northrop Grumman, has produced literally thousands of illustrations like this that, you know, are challenging to create. It takes a certain amount of skills, whether they're traditional art skills or computer-based skills. But images like this are not all that conceptually challenging. I mean, it's pretty obvious that we're showing aerospacecraft or planetary scenes that are, you know, not pretty obvious as what you're trying to show as soon as you see them. But as I worked with the executive leadership of the company, the chief engineers, the proposal managers, I saw that what they were really struggling with is communicating complex ideas, what we call CONOPS, concepts of operation, especially those that involved networks. So I kind of made it my specialty to figure out, well, how can I create graphics that will help them communicate these ideas and hopefully make them exciting? So here are 2 examples from the defense side of the industry. How would commanders communicate with troops in the field in real time on a global scale, and not only communicate, but share critical information back and forth? In this lower example, how would a theater commander, uses air, land, sea, and space-based assets to engage a technologically sophisticated adversary? And, you know, as an artist, I use color to help, you know, convey the certain emotion. You could see the good guys are bathed in blue and green, whereas the bad guys look like they're approaching Mordor. The other unseen challenge in visualization is the whole world of the electromagnetic spectrum. I mean, daily we're involved in or immersed in Wi-Fi networks. We use our cell phones. Well, what if you could see it? What would those networks look like? Most people don't care and don't really have any idea. But if you're trying to develop them and how they interact, how they might interfere, it always helps to create a picture. So I also made it my specialty to help our designers envision what the electromagnetic spectrum looked like as it applies to aerospace craft, because any vehicle, whether it's an aircraft or a spacecraft, it incorporates dozens of systems that exploit the spectrum in one way or another. So I created a visual language I like to call beamology, a consistent use of color for instance, those type of devices like radars that are mostly looking at the ground, looking at the air, looking in space, and trying to get a feel for the fields of regard, the fields of view of these various beams and how they interact. And this wound up being quite useful to explain, the complex world of sensing. And it's always an interesting challenge. Now, let me wind this up with two case studies, how I use art and illustration to help my customers and clients solve their communication challenges. So first example is back in the mid-2000s was an exciting time for Northrop Grumman. We were setting up a whole new human spaceflight part of the company, which we had never done before, and we were pursuing the NASA Constellation Systems contract to develop what they called the Crew Exploration Vehicle, which ultimately became the Orion spacecraft, which is hopefully going to be launching before too long on the SLS. So I was approached by Scott Seymour at the time. He was our general manager of what we call at the time, the Northrop Grumman Integrated Systems Division. And he wanted to, on short notice for promotion at various trade shows, create a poster, kind of an inspirational poster to show that we were embarking on, helping humans expand into the solar system. So now, no matter how advanced we get with computer graphics, I always like to start any art project with a simple pencil sketch. So here's the sketch I came up with. And Scott loved it, and he wanted me to pursue working this. I even, as you can see, I showed spacecraft expanding out into the solar system and the galaxy. But I also wanted to pay homage to the previous vehicle types we used to explore our oceans and the air around our world. Here's just a quick color sketch I did of the same concept. But Scott told me, well, you've got to also make sure the program managers and the systems engineers are happy with the idea. And of course they weren't. They wanted to, in typical aerospace engineering fashion, show every single facet of the project in one illustration: the launch vehicles, the command and control, the bases and infrastructure we would be building out in the solar system. So I scrapped my original idea and tried my best to come up with a poster that conveyed all that. And here's what I came up with. So now normally a thing like this would be shown as a block diagram. So I figured, well, at least you want to make a compelling image that's as interesting as possible to at least get people to say, hey, what's that all about? So they're compelled to talk to the company communications people and learn more about it. And I'll use this to highlight how I go about creating this kind of imagery. This is I use Photoshop as the final tool to composite everything together. So it's very much a montage of photo imagery as well as digitally created elements. And those could be 3D models I created or others have created of the various elements. They could be hand painted elements, and everything is brought together in Photoshop in many, many layers. So let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Here's the upper portion of the illustration. You can see I've shown how we would outreach to get to and create bases on the moon and Mars. Now, this illustration I created it at a height of 9,000 pixels. And remember, this is back in 2005. So I was pushing the absolute limit of the computer I had available at the time because the company might have wanted to make this a large poster to be reproduced for trade show purposes. So I included little details such as here you can see there's a outpost and refueling station on the dark side of Phobos. And I always like to have fun with illustrations like this and incorporate maybe a few hidden elements. So you'll see out in the asteroid belt, I've got the Death Star. Now let's look at the lower portion of the illustration, which shows the launch vehicle ideas we had at the time, which were using the EELVs, the evolved expendable launch vehicles and other reusable vehicles we were developing at the time. But to me, the critical thing was the unseen part is the network. Again, how many illustrations of future space infrastructure have you seen that show the network? They generally don't. And I wanted to give the impression that, wherever human beings go, we want to be able to use our cell phones. Whether we're on the moon or Mars, it's going to be the same thing. So clearly, when we get out there, we're going to be building our planetary communications networks at least as fast as we build the other human infrastructure for environmental and survival. So I tried to convey the expanding network that will go out to match our expansion with the human spacecraft systems. And just to have some more fun, I made sure that one of the mission controllers had a Buzz Lightyear on his desk. Okay, and the last example I'd like to show you is about 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to work with the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, the NRAO. They invited the IAAA to participate with them in a scientific conference in Socorro, New Mexico. And their goal was to develop the requirements and the science use cases, as they called them, for what they referred to as the next generation very large array, the NGVLA, excuse me. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the VLA, the Very Large Array out in New Mexico. If you've seen the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, that's those amazing array of large antennas in the background that she used to make a first contact with alien culture. It's an absolutely amazing facility, and we got a chance to take a tour of that facility. But during the week, we worked with these scientists. I was invited along with a few of my colleagues. You see here in the lower left, John Raymer, who was the former president of our organization. And we sat in and listened to what these scientists had to say. During this time, I had a chance to sketch out in pencil and paper. So I was like a student doodling in my notebook of all the exotic objects that they were discussing during the course of this event. Various kinds of nebula and high density objects, planetary disks, and the challenge they had for the artists was, how do we communicate the exciting aspects of radio astronomy? This community does not have the advantage that the optical astronomy community has. I mean, the Hubble Space Telescope, all the amazing ground-based space telescopes, and the amazing James Webb Space Telescope that's about to become operational and start delivering images, have the enormous advantage of generating just unbelievable imagery to excite the general public. But the radio astronomy that generally does not create imagery. I mean, you could map aspects of the spectrum, but it's not directly imaging the objects they're looking at. So they have a public relations challenge. So I was really struggling to try to figure out, well, what could I create to help communicate this idea? I was thinking of maybe, some kind of a graph like this that showed the various great observatories that NASA and ESA has put up into space, and how radio astronomy is looking at many of the same objects across a very broad spectrum, but analyzing it in a different way. I thought of maybe making some kind of a multimedia presentation there where you could use a slider to look at various objects in the visual spectrum and the optical spectrum, as well as the electromagnetic spectrum. But ultimately, the NRAO liked this simple sketch I came up with, just kind of a notional view of the radio telescopes looking at the wonders of the cosmos. So here is the final illustration I came up with. I call this illustration the cradle of life, because I was specifically assigned to work with the biological sciences team, and they had the challenge of coming up with the requirements for what does the fidelity of the new array need to be to identify the chemicals, the various molecules that are the biological markers for life, across the cosmic distances. So I kind of did that notionally. You can see I'm showing various objects from planetary on a planetary scale as well as the galactic scale, and I tried to show this kind of plume of molecules representative of the molecules they were looking for, just as to convey the idea that this is one of the critical aspects of what the NGVLA is trying to do. And as you can see, they created a 3D model of the array for me, which I positioned exactly where it'll be on kind of on a Google Maps representation of New Mexico. And one interesting aspect of this is if you look at the current VLA, it's in a triangular configuration. There are 3 rows of antennas that and of course they use computer software to combine the signals of those antennas to create the final data that they for any object they're looking at. But as it turns out, putting the individual antennas in a row is not really a good idea. Their signals coming down tend to create resonances and interferences because they're placed in a linear fashion. So as you can see, the new array will be much more random in its placement because at the level of fidelity they're trying to achieve, it turns out that's an advantage to be able to analyze and combine all the signals. So here's something that isn't immediately obvious that they didn't realize when they created the first array way back in the 70s that the new array will incorporate. So I made sure that I included that in my illustration. Okay, so that's basically what I have to tell you. And in summary, my whole career has been about combining art with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and we call that STEAM. Give me STEAM, baby. My whole mission in life is to show that art facilitates communication on all levels, whether you're talking about science and engineering or not. And above all, I wish you all good luck and keep your dreams alive. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Aldo. Bravo.
Thank you.
It was really, really a nice, interesting lecture. Yeah, I agree with you. I know the problem to make visible the unseen. I had this problem in this book for my husband. Warte mal, I have to stop the background. Wait, then you can see it. Moment, just a second. Okay. So now you can see it. So in this book, Earth to Mars, and my task was how it looks like when the Milky Way is settled. So, and yeah, this is like it is settled, and the connection between all this, yeah, planets, stars, and whatever, I should to show, and I know this problem. It was really nice that you explained it and the ideas you had, and also radio wavelengths, or how do you depict this? Yeah, so it's really, really interesting. Steve Simon is also saying, moment, Mattel, the same creators of my favorite toy as a child, Major Matt Mason.
Oh, Mattel,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, genau. Barbara King is asking if you have a role for her in your film, and yeah, they are not so much. They are all amazed, and it's excellent. It looks like you have not left any questions open, but I see Bernard is keen on asking something.
Okay.
You have to unmute yourself, Bernard.
So it's clearly amazing career, and also amazing contact you have done with the Hollywood world, and really also bringing engineering there into the movies. I have a question. So, do you have a systematic ways with IAAA to connect with the space and the science community? Do you organize events where you merge together with the engineers and the space scientists? How do you organize that?
The shorter answer is no. In other words, there's no systematic way. One challenge we have is, art. A lot of people who become artists, they're basically one-person activities. You become a well-known artist. You create your portfolio. If you're lucky, maybe you're represented in a gallery. But the artists who are members of our group realize, hey, there's certain advantages to coming together, to sharing ideas, to sharing techniques. But a lot of times when you're going out in the business world, you're pretty much representing yourself. So not that these people are, are hoarding their, I don't want anyone to know my clients or anything. It's just that they're not used to the idea, when you're, I'm glad I'm an engineer and an artist because I've been exposed to both worlds. A lot of artists have never worked in a team environment. So it is a challenge, and the IAAA is a good way to expose them to that. Hey, there are advantages to approaching, for instance, an organization like NASA and say, look, we have a dozen artists who'd be willing to work with you, and we could either work individually on your projects or as a team. So it is a challenge. But when an opportunity pops up, like if Hollywood occasion or a magazine or something will visit our website and they say, hey, we're looking for illustrations of a Mars base or something, then we'll put out a notice to our people. Hey, does anyone have work that can be used by these folks, or are you willing to create such work? But on a more systematic way, I know I've been following an organization, the Science and Entertainment Exchange, I believe it's called, and it brings scientists more on the science side and the engineering side with entertainment, though I haven't had a chance to actively participate with them. But it's, another challenge is we don't have a lot of volunteers in our group that, as you three know, is a lot of groundwork and footwork that goes on behind the scenes to get organized, to contact people. But most of our artists would rather be on their own and do art rather than spending all their time communicating. Since I've been president of the group, I create almost zero art because I'm busy doing the same as you guys, which is organizing events and everything. But I like the idea of, since there are other organized groups that are doing what you said, Bernard, the easier route for us is to show them what we can do and use their facilities and resources and networks to help us, do exactly what you said. It maybe connect better with the entertainment.
Yeah, I think that one avenue is also to use some big organizations. There is a National Space Society. We have Space Renaissance, and we want to provide a home for space artists, but also to work with a young professional. And that's what we have done with the Art Moon Mars platform. We have given space classes in art schools. So every year I had 20, 30 art students, and you are completely right. Artists, they need to learn to be part of the team project. They need to learn discipline, timing, synchronization with engineers. And that's something we could bring by bridging between artists and space professionals. So that's something that we could try to develop in collaboration with Space Renaissance, with some part in the US. Also, we need to collect, and also in other parts of the world.
Right. No, that's an excellent idea. And go ahead, Adrian.
Wait, we'll say something in connection with what Bernard said. That's what we are trying to do here, to build a bridge between art and science. And it's true that artists are working very lonely in their atelier. And it is taught the picture is not painted if it is not shown. And it's very difficult to earn your living from your artwork, and all artists are struggling with this, or mostly they're having an other profession where they earn their living, like me, and doing their business in an other part, and but I think it is very good to have some communication between artists to interchange the techniques. You can learn from each other, and not to be jealous. So this is it's like in science. If you are working on a new project, then you will cover it and not until before it is published. So, and if you have an art idea, you also will have it covered in art project because someone can steal your idea and come out with this earlier. So, and therefore artists are very close with their ideas. And another thing is, if I would say, Aldo, do you want to make a project with me together? Then we would hold this project also undercover and until before it comes out. Okay, Adriano, the turn is yours.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no. Yes, the presentation was fantastic. Really great work you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
I'm really excited to have seen this beautiful artwork that is also an engineering work. And since I am in all of my life, I was a softwareist. I made software, so I know the engineering world. And I was also an artist, in not professional, but I am a musician, and I write a lot of things, and also visual art is interesting for me, even if I never deepened this part. However, okay, I have several things to say. First of all, we have a lot of work to do, and I saw a comment in the chat that say we need a space art community in Europe. This is definitely true. Is a Storm Star Walker who say that, and I think that collaborating with your organization would be key. And I think in a meeting that we had maybe 1 month ago or something, we talked about a partnership agreement between SAI and IAAA. Right. And definitely it is now time to push this thing and to have, well, let me say, a table when we can schedule some activities, some projects together, even not too many things, because too many things will end in nothing. But maybe 1 or 2 events or collaboration per year, it could be made to bring together artists from both sides of Atlantic and maybe also from Asia. And so Space Renaissance was born to do that. Mm-hmm. So definitely it's a very good thing to do, and I think we will work very seriously for these goals. This was my first idea. The second thing is that okay, it is really fascinating the futuristic view that you have put together with your work. And I think when you say people is excited by such visions of the unseen words, unseen things, etc. I think that this is good, but it's not enough. I'm sorry, because yes, I am a little bit disturbing, because I always try to look forward, no, to look in the future, but also in the present. So in the very near future, because people now, yes, needs to be excited, because we always need to be excited. This is our human nature, and it is a very good thing to give exciting things and to solicit imagination and this kind of things. But we are also living in a season where we need a narration to show not only how the Superman astronauts are doing beautiful enterprises and travels and missions in the solar systems, and maybe after that in the galaxy and so on to Proxima Centauri, etc. This is wonderful. But I think people now also need to see how normal people could start living in space.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we need to build a narration on that. And I am thinking about, I have some ideas. I have some works that I initiated before our Congress of 2001, and I interrupted because of the Congress. And I thought that this year, the 2022, it was a little bit more peaceful for me, because we have finally we have a president that is Bernard that took the presidency, and so I can be. I thought I could be a little bit more free to think about writing something and so on, but that's not true because this year we are working more than 2021. However, okay, very, very short. I have some ideas. I would like very much to talk about that, about such ideas with you, and maybe we could think to I don't know, if you like it, then we can think to make something together. I will write to you. And,
Okay.
Okay.
Regarding the art group in Europe, we have I would like to mention that we have a Space Renaissance art group and the IAAA has also a Facebook group, so you can post your artworks there and join the groups, and there's also an interchange between artists.
Definitely, we have many artists around the Space Renaissance art chapter. That many of them are from Europe. Therefore, yes, we could try to.
We have this art group already.
Yeah, yes, in the frame of the
Facebook
partnership, no,
Mm-hmm.
the agreement, and so we could try to make some kind of I don't know, join the activities between IAAA and the Space Renaissance art chapter for sure. Yeah, good.
And
very good.
The IAAA does have a reasonable presence in Europe, though I think most of the members we have are in the UK, but there are several other members. So we have a basis at least for pursuing what you just described and figuring out what would be reasonable projects that are doable. I mean, it's easy to come up with a list of all kinds of fantastic things that are just too much, but let's start with a few doable projects and see where it takes us.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay. Are there any other questions, Bernard? I would like to say what I wanted to say.
As a follow-up practical project, we have our Space Renaissance Festival in Berlin. Clearly, we are looking forward to see some of you and to start even an event regular. We'll have also the International Astronomical Congress, where we are trying also to include art and humanities into space. And next year, we are working on also another big event, which would be a National Space Society Europe event in mid of July, possibly in France or Holland. And so that could be also an opportunity where I don't know if your artists like Paris, maybe that could inspire them to come.
Hard to believe anyone wouldn't like Paris, but yeah,
especially in July. July is the time where you don't have so many Parisians, so it's perfect. But we have also developed the project of space gallery. So we have developed Moon Gallery. We launched to the space station. We are working on a project to send a Moon Gallery to the moon. We have also the Moon Mars Museum project, also trying to raise some funding that will to help to make it happen. We have also organized a number of space art exhibitions in the big events that we are attending. So we'll have something at the Space Renaissance Festival, but also in Padova in September at ISC. And we have also organized spontaneous pop-up exhibitions in the US as in Europe. So I think we could certainly try to have in a calendar a series of always artistic and humanities event every time we have a gathering of the space community.
Mm-hmm.
Those are very worthwhile goals. So let's see what we can do.
Yes, we should do it. Yeah.
And of course, we can use a bit the digital virtual element, which allows also to save cost and time for those that cannot always travel. And
right.
I think some
maybe we can do together an virtual art event that we show our artwork one day in digital way. So that would be something nice. So this is a project I can imagine. And I also would like to mention that in July in Berlin in the Space Renaissance Art and Science Festival, there will be many artists presenting their artwork. One of some members of the IAAA too, like Barbara King. We will have Priscilla Thomas, Sarah Trat, Marie Kuiper, Eva Petric, and myself. And also so we can be curious, and next time we can do more.
Sabine, if you can, send me a link to that event. Is do they have a website for it?
On our website, you will find it on our website, and you can register for free. Also for everyone who is watching, you can register for free. And of course, we would prefer that you come in presence, because the Archenhold Observatory is one of the oldest observatories in Europe, the oldest Volkssternwarte in Europe, and it has the longest lens telescope on Earth with 21 meters. So we have many attractions, many interesting scientific lectures. Our guests will be Bernard Clark, and among others, we have Adriano, Dirk Schulze-Makuch, astrobiologist, Professor Walter Mate, Seth Shostak, Marie-Louise Häuser, Giuseppe Rivaldi, Jan Werner, Nancy Wolfson, Bob Subrin, Michelle Hanlon, Professor Joseph Pelton, and James Burke, Jim Crisafulli, and many others. So it makes sense to come.
For general public, yes, so easy. You Google Space Renaissance Berlin, you will get access to the page. You can register either for virtual attendance or for in presence.
Can you put the link in the chat, Adriano? Adriano can put the link in the chat.
I'm going to. Yes.
Yeah, you have a link on the chat, but yes, just Google Space Renaissance Berlin.
I can't believe we didn't invite Aldo to speak at the Berlin festival, because we are so confused and we make many things together and we forget the very important things. Okay.
But yes.
But we will recover that. Never mind.
So Aldo, if you're want to spend a nice weekend in Berlin in July, at the beginning of July, you are invited to come and to see and to enjoy the festival.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that. Well, I'm not sure I could do it, but in any case, thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, I would like.
And for sure, okay, let me say, for sure,
we're 4th of July boys, so.
If you will come, we will find a way to make you speak to the.
Yeah. This of course. If you come, you will you can speak.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. Then I will give you a gap in our speaker in our sessions.
Yeah.
I would like to thank you for this really, really, really nice lecture, and it was really interesting for me to see your drawings, how you are concepting an artwork, and it's always interesting for an artist or also for others to see. And in your case, it's a lucky coincidence that you are an artist and an engineer, so that goes together, and you can have more background when painting or drawing a spacecraft or a rocket or whatever. I would like to thank you, Bernard and Adriano, for joining us and our audience. And I hope to see you in 2 weeks. And our guest in 2 weeks will be, and I have to look at at our, I'm in the wrong calendar now. Adriano, do you have it?
What? What are
the program at the moment.
writing in the chat, so I didn't take attention to
Yeah, you are writing in the chat. The next on June 20th, we will have James Burke from the Mars Society, and he will talk about Mars virtual reality for human Mars exploration. So this will be also a very, very interesting lecture. I'm glad that you have been here with us, Aldo, and I wish you all a nice evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's been fun, and we will stay connected and see what we can do together.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Ad Astra.
Space Renaissance. Thank you.
Bye-bye.